Now, what has been the traditional land acquisition law? 110 years, right? You could grab any land you wanted. You could call it public purpose. It need not be a public purpose. You may not use it for that purpose. You take a notification under Section 4, you freeze the value of the land. Then you can delay acquisition till, I don't know, 10 years. Then you pay the money provided the man proves his title. Now, illiterate living in a village hut proving title. He has to live his world according to your rules. And then all redress you provide him is some incomprehensible legal process in a foreign language from a tardy institution being run by people like me. He neither understands me nor the institution, nor the language in which the proceedings happen, nor the manner in which the proceedings happen. He understands nothing. And people like me treat him how? Illiterate fool doesn't pay enough legal fees. Now we have this bill. Land may be acquired only for public purpose, defined to include defense, national security, roads, railways, highways, and government-built ports, land for project, impacted people, homes for poor and landless, etc. Apart from that, you're on your own. Urgency clause to be used only for defense, national security, and natural calamity. Anyway, in such cases, 75% premium market value to be paid and 80% of compensation to be paid before possession. In general cases, compensation to be determined by collector and paid within 2 years. All right. Market value is equal to double registration value in rural areas plus value of assets on the land plus 100% solatium for compulsory acquisition. No doubling in urban areas. Rehabilitation and resettlement scheme compulsory in every case, like you're doing them a favor, huh? Resettlement areas must have roads, drains, provisions for drinking water, grazing land, banks, post office, public distribution outlets, etc. Stuff that we already have. Other R&R entitlements, land for in rural areas, a constructed house of at least 50 square meters, one-time allowance of 50,000 for affected families. Options of mandatory employment in projects, a one-time payment of 5 lakhs or inflated adjusted annuity of 2,000 per month per family for 20 years. That's it, broadly. Now, when I look at it, what do I think? There's more money, faster payment, better rehabilitation. Okay, that's good. What's wrong? What bothers me is that we are politicizing development activity through a law like this. Why do I say this? Landowners are still treated not as assets holders, but as expendables. This is the big orientation problem we have. Titles become claims to be rehabilitated through some collector-approved scheme. It's not that, okay, this guy owns the asset, we need to make a deal with him. That's not the attitude. The attitude is, let's take it from him, and then we'll see what we have to pay him. The other thing that really, really, really bothers me, and we are back to politics again, is this huge abdication of sovereign responsibility that our present government seems to have become highly skilled at. You can talk about the Right to Education Act, you can talk about Salva Judum. What do you mean that you will not support non-public purpose projects? See, land acquisition, somebody said this, that if a road has to go through that next parcel, it has to go through that next parcel, where's the choice? He's right. There's always an element of coercion in it. The issue is not coercion. The issue is, how are you going to treat him as an equal in a fair and liberal way, and how are you going to compensate him, and when? It's the government's job to front-end development. There will never be development if you don't have coercion in everything. Democracy itself is coercion. I don't like Mayawati, but she has the votes. She does what she likes. I have to go with what she says. That's democracy. It's coercion. Coercion is not a problem. The problem is, am I fairly treated? And the government has to do it. So what we need to do, if you're going to set up a land acquisition law that makes any sense, is find a mechanism to be fair. So what do I want? I want landowners to be treated as asset holders and treated at par with building, machine, finance, and managerial skill owners. Land is equity in a project. I want the government to front end the process, bringing all 5 of these together. I want a regulator to set up a level playing field for it. As I said before, coercion is inherent in democracy, even political and corporate democracy. So mechanism must be created in a project context to enforce the writ of the majority of the stakeholders in that project. Maybe I was not able to explain myself. What I mean to say is, if somebody owns a land and its restated value when the project reaches commercial operation is, say, 20% of the total value of the business, then that 20% of the stock holding should be owned by the peasants that gave you the land. Something like that. That kind of mechanism is in my mind. I take a very historical view on life, and I see everything as process. I think that in 60 years, we've rethought a lot of our priorities, and we've dealt with developmental challenges a certain way, and now we are rethinking some of those challenges. It's easy to be cynical about people. I am very cynical. I'm a lawyer. I'm trained to be cynical, right? But I think that over a period of time, if we set up a fair law, it will be possible to bring together peasants in cooperatives in the same way that Bizel, who runs Fab India, he's brought together thousands of artisans who stitch and knit and cook and embroider and I don't know what else for him, make pickles for him in joint ventures with Fab India, where they're all stakeholders. It's possible. The problem is we don't think like that. We think about their land, I want it, I'm going to grab it. The fundamental shift when it happens, the rest will fall into place, is my view. I mean, hey, I'm not too old to be wrong. There are 2 different issues here. The first thing is that you have to recognize that we have a real problem in India, and you keep calling it corruption and trying to change the subject. That's not fair. Our problem is funding democracy. There is no legitimate way to fund democracy. I want to stand for election here. What's my cost? For a state level election between 5 and 25 crores, where do I get the money? If I do it legitimately, it's not okay. Now, unless you're prepared to find a mechanism to fund India's democracy, you don't have a problem, a solution to this corruption problem, and talking about draconian laws and isko utha lo, usko utha lo, is all rubbish. So set up a law. That's one part of it. 2, I believe that politicians are nothing but mirror images of who we are. They reflect us. All our failings are magnified and personified in them. If we are prepared to be different, we will all collectively appoint somebody else. This is what we really want. Does that answer? In a sort of way. Huh?